Good morning, everyone. Isn't it unbelievable to be here once again, and this sanctuary has once again transformed itself entirely in maybe, 12 hours? I am completely in awe of what has happened here these past few days. And as a member of the board at First Unitarian, I have 5 announcements for you this morning. Please mark your calendars for 1 week from today, on Sunday, November 24 at 1 p.m. here in Worship Hall, when FirstU 3 choirs will present Songs for a Long Night, a concert with songs of warmth and light as the winter season nears. The music will range from classical pieces to Paul McCartney and Susan Aglukark, to jazz and folk standards. Childcare will be provided. Entrance will be by donation. Late this past week, it was announced there will be a rally for refugees today at 3 p.m. at Ben Franklin Place Plaza, which is at 101 Center Point Drive. There will be a group from the congregation participating. If you want to lend your voice to show that Ottawa is a welcoming community, please join us. Either just show up or see Chuck Shields after the service. You will know the First Unitarian group because we will have our banner. Announcement number 3. During November, the Environmental Action Group will focus on action to ban the advertising of fossil fuels, both nationally and locally. Find out more on the Climate Action page in the website. The Fossil Fuel Advertising Act is scheduled for a second reading in Parliament on November 22nd. Please sign the petition calling on members of Parliament to pass this bill, which will substantially improve our health and that of our planet. And locally, you can take action on Horizon Ottawa's petition to keep fossil fuel advertising out of City of Ottawa facilities. Number 4, there will be an after-service conversation following the service today. If you are interested in having an engaging discussion excuse me, an engaging discussion about the themes and learnings from today's service, please grab some food in Fellowship Hall and head to the lounge. Coffee will be available in the lounge. Pardon? Okay, let's keep number 4. You see, things keep changing. And the last but not least, exciting news from the pledge team. We are only $2,500 short of our goal of $23,000 for the Help Staff Help Us campaign. And this is an update I just got from Phil Nagy that unfortunately couldn't be here today. Please take a minute to contribute to this important fund. You can find the link in the EUU or on the website under Annual Giving. Or even easier, you can simply drop a note to pledge at firstunitarianottawa.ca. I would now like to call on Catherine Pope to give us an update on yesterday's fall fair. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen. Good morning. I'm Catherine Pope. I'm the Fall Fair Director. I have 2 questions for you this morning. The first one is, who volunteered at the Fall Fair this past week? Raise your right hand. All right. And the second question is, who is going to nap every day this coming week? Raise your left hand. Woo, yes. Me too. So, well, the Fall Fair is almost over for another year. It's been a wonderful event. Above, you'll see a few pictures, I think. Mariella, thank you so much. And as you'll see, and there's Andrew. Yay! There we go. Nice one, Carol. Well, it's almost over, and thanks to everyone who took part. At this time, I'd also like to thank and say a big thank you to the FirstU staff, to the operations manager, Jen Brennan, who created the maps and the Fall Fair guide for the customers. I think she updated the one from last year. And she also spent some time trying to find parking for volunteers as well. I think she did a lot more than that, by the way. To finance manager Michelle Jackson, who did the square training with volunteers. She created a schedule this year to streamline the process. To Dee, our head custodian, who did a great job of cleaning and organizing the Grow Tower room for volunteer breaks and lunches. Dee also made sure the rest of the building was in great shape for the Fall Fair. Finally, to Reverend Eric, who encouraged me to do this public speaking and handed out Fall Fair guides and served coffee to the shoppers who arrived early in the morning. Thank you so much to all of them. Let's give them a big hand. Now, of course, the sale isn't quite over yet. After the service, there's still some post-sales. There's the silent auction items at the back here, you've probably noticed, I think for $10 each, and if I'm wrong, Margaret might tell you what they really are. And then there's knitting and crafts in the lounge through the door there. There's books in room 2. Yeah, exactly. Lots of books, by the way. Bargain Haven is in room 5. Puzzles in room 16. I'm so glad puzzles were in room 16, by the way. We did really well there. And large items are at the parking lot door entry. As I mentioned last week, we won't be reporting the preliminary financial results today. That's for several reasons, including that we won't get the debit and credit cards results from Square until tomorrow. So stay tuned next week for an update. A big thank you to all of the coordinators, conveners, and volunteers that helped to make this year's Fall Fair a success. From removing the hymnals last Sunday to transforming the building into the Fall Fair event, as Carmen said, and back into what we have today. There were tons of donations, lots of shoppers, great displays, and not to mention parking in interesting times. As I checked in on the rooms before the big day, I found volunteers hard at work, sorting, doing some ironing, determining prices, and organizing. Some of the volunteers told me they enjoyed their work here, and the tasks are not so onerous because they meet other volunteers here once a year and love the week that they spend together, working together for a cause that they believe in. I have to mention that sharing food together is always a treat here, and the soups made by volunteers were fabulous. And for me, it was a wonderful time to spend time talking with people I don't typically see or talk to, get an opportunity to spend time with. I was also actually glad that we were not able to focus on the finances today. I wanted to let you know that you are an amazing bunch of people. It shows in the community spirit that you have, and to me, the Fall Fair really is about building community. Please give everyone a huge round of applause. Thank you.
All right, this morning's opening song will be We Rise by Batya Levine. You'll see lyrics on the screen behind you. This is the same one we did last week. This is a beautiful little piece of protest music written the first time Trump was elected. We'll sing it again today now. Still relevant. I won't take the time to teach you it as much today, assuming you may remember it from last week. If you don't remember, the word rise comes up a lot. A little bit of feedback I got last week from my 6-year-old was, Mommy, why did you say rise so many times? So if you just want to join in there, that's fine. All right. We rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, we rise, up from the wreckage, rise, with tears and with courage, rise, fighting for life, we rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here. Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hi back at you. Welcome everyone to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or watching from wherever you may be, you are welcome on this day after this congregation's biggest, most exhilarating, and perhaps most exhausting day of the year, as Catherine shared earlier. I'm the Reverend Eric Meter, the lead pastor here, and
I'm Susan, your worship associate this morning. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all who have the willingness to understand, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. And now, let's join our voices in song. Please rise in body or in spirit to sing together, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," number 16 in the gray hymnal. The lyrics will also be on the screen. As health challenges continue, do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you are right here in Worship Hall this morning and would like more information about FirstU, it is available from Agnes at the welcome table at the back of the pews, and she's waving at us all there. We encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Sign-up information is available on our website under the Communications tab and as a QR code on the back of our printed order of service, which you should all have received as you came in. Check our Facebook and Instagram pages and our website for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, although some of our activities do take place online. This morning, each of us is welcome, we of any heritage or faith, whatever our burdens, of any culture or race, of any gender or orientation, in any body, all that we are. Today, we are all a part of this spiritual community.
Thank you, Susan. To begin our morning's reflection on the art and perhaps rare practice of rest, we light our chalice this morning to these words of welcome from Scott Taylor. We light this chalice to remember that it is good to make space for breath, that work is not the measure of our worthiness, that filling one's life to the brim leaves no room for grace or surprise to slip in. Welcome, friends. Let us make space and be renewed. Our Our chalice is lit. Come, let us worship together as we begin by singing our chalice song. I think Jody has a story for us all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jody McIntosh, the Director of Religious Exploration. And when Reverend Eric told me this morning that the theme was, and the seventh day we rested, I said, I have the book for you. So this is Big Mama Makes the World. It's a very Unitarian retelling of the creation story. And several years ago, our former music director, Jane Perry, wrote a piece of music to this book. So I will be sharing a little bit of that song with you as I read the book, and the words to the chorus will be up on the screen, so when we get to that, if I know a lot of the choir members know it, and if you know it, you can join in and sing along. And the book is by Phyllis Root. When Big Mama made the world, she didn't mess around. There was water, water everywhere. And Big Mama saw what needed to be done all right, so she rolled up her sleeves and went to it. Wasn't easy either with that little baby sitting on her hip, and that didn't stop Big Mama, though, not for 1 minute. Light, said Big Mama, and you better believe it, there was light. Dark, said Big Mama, and there was dark just as big as the light. You two got work to do, Big Mama said. Don't you be fooling around none. Then she looked at the light, and she looked at the dark, and she looked at the little baby looking at the light in the dark, smiling and cooing. And Big Mama sang, Big Mama made the world with a baby on a hippopotamus, soup on the stove. Big Mama made the world according to her scene, if you know what I mean. And when the job was done, she stood back and she said, that's good, that's real good. And that's how the first day went. Next day, Big Mama looked around. Can't tell my up from my down, said Big Mama. Better have some sky here. And there it was, one big sky wrapping her over everything, soft and blue as a baby's blanket. Wasn't much else yet, but water and light and dark and sky, all doing what Big Mama wanted them to do. So Big Mama, she was pleased all right. And she said, that's good, that's real good. Next day, Big Mama looked around some more and she said, got me some light and got me some dark, but I still can't tell what time of day it is. How am I gonna know when it's morning, evening, time to put the baby down for a nap? Big Mama, she wanted to know all right. And anything Big Mama wants, Big Mama gets. That's just how it goes. Sun, said Big Mama, you take care of this day business for me. Moon, said Big Mama, you take care of this night business for me. And Big Mama made the stars too, just in case old Moon overslept sometime. Big Mama looked at the sun and the moon and the stars, filling up her sky just in time for the little baby's nap. And Big Mama nodded and she smiled. Big Mama made the world with a baby on a hippopotamus, soup on the stove. Big Mama made the world according to a scene, if you know what I mean. And when the job was done, she stood back and she said, that's good, that's real good. Next morning, Big Mama got up with the sun and she said, I need a place to put my feet down when they need putting down. She knew there'd be some foot putting down when the baby of hers was to grow in more. "Earth," said Big Mama, "get over here." And it did. Oh, one big ball of mud it was, nothing much to look at. Baby liked it all right, just the way it was, but Big Mama wasn't finished yet. "Need some grass to wriggle my toes in," said Big Mama. "Some big old shade trees for hanging a hammock on. Papayas and oranges and boysenberries for eating on." That's how it was then, just like Big Mama said, little baby sucking on a mango and grass and trees and fruit all over the place, like somebody tripped over a fruit stand. And Big Mama, she looked at that earth and she said, "That's good, that's real good." Lots of folks would be plenty pleased, but Big Mama, she doesn't quit. A job till it's done and done right. Big Mama looked at all the water and the earth and the trees and the sky and the sun and the moon and the stars, and she said, "Awful quiet down there. Better have some whales, better have some birds, better have some fish." That's exactly what happened, all right. Pretty soon, there were more whales and catfish and mockingbirds and crows than a little baby could shake a stick at, which a little baby could do if a little baby wanted to, since Big Mama had already made all those trees full of sticks. And Big Mama looked around, and she began to sing, "Big Mama made the world with a baby on a hip, a pot of soup on the stove. Big Mama made the world according to a scene, if you know what I mean." And when the job was done, she stood back and she said, "That's good, that's real good." Now, Big Mama was about ready to be done with it all. Making a world was hard work. What with the laundry piling up and the dishes needing doing, she figured she better finish things off in one big bang. "I need some creepers and crawlers, some runners and jumpers, some diggers, some divers. Everybody else wants to get created? Here is your chance. Hedgehogs and night crawlers, raccoons and garter snakes, rabbits and polar bears." That's how Big Mama made them all in one big bang. But Big Mama still wasn't done. "Oh no, I'm lonely," said Big Mama. "Who's gonna sit on the French porch and swap stories with me? Not these creepers and crawlers, not these diggers and divers. They're good all right, but not one of them can tell a story worth a plug nickel. And all this little baby can do so far is say, goo goo gaga. I need some folks to keep me company." Big Mama, she scooped up some of that leftover mud, and she pushed, and she pulled, and she poked, and she pried, and the next thing you knew, there were folks everywhere. There were big folks and little folks and fat folks and thin folks, all kinds of shades of folks. And every one of those folks had a story to swap with Big Mama. And she said, "That's good, that's real good." And that's how the 6th day went, with Big Mama and all those folks sitting on the porch and gabbing while the sun went down. Big Mama was ready for a rest, all right, ready to bundle up with that little baby of hers and that big blue blanket of the sky. But Big Mama had one more thing to do. She lined up all those folks and said, "This is a real nice world we got here, and you better take care. And you better take some good care of it. I'm taking a day off to rest now, but I'll be keeping an eye on." That's what Big Mama said, all right, and you better believe she meant it. Every once in a while, when she's burping the baby or making cookies or rocking that baby back to sleep, Big Mama looks down and says, "Better straighten up down there." And every so often, Big Mama looks down on this nice little world, and she smiles and nods. Big Mama makes the world with a baby on her hip, a pot of soup on the stove. Big Mama made the world according to her scene, if you know what I mean. And when the job was done, she stood back and she said, "That's good, that's real good." Thank you so much for helping me with my story this morning. So just so the parents know, the older children who are usually in the chalice room will be in the downstairs kitchen this morning, which is just across from the rainbow room, and we'll be baking some cookies. So if you could make an arch for our children to go down, and we'll sing the children out. Thank you.
When Jody told me that she was going to sing the refrain of the song version that Jane Perry came up with, I didn't realize the song was as much beloved as it obviously is. Jane's memory is still vitally alive in this room, in this group of people, this community. And it is a blessing. Each week, we pause in our time together in recognition of the joys and sorrows in our lives and across the globe as well. We honor our celebrations and challenges by placing stones in small bowls of water. As the ripples extend outward, we imagine them continuing out beyond the small bowls, out through and past our pews, out into the larger community of all. This morning, if Susan can help me out, a stone for Rule, who is home now recuperating following bypass surgery, with Barb, whose brother Bob is failing out in Halifax, and a stone for Catherine as she recovers from a recent fall and subsequent surgery. Please come forward if you would drop a stone or more to honor the joys and sorrows and challenges that you are carrying with you today. That last stone, as always, represents all that remains in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. Carrying cards for Barb, Rule, and Catherine are at the back of the hall at the caring table for us to sign. Even if you don't yet know these folks, signing a card to them is a way for us to extend our care on behalf of those who have given so much of their hearts for this community. Let us move into a time of stillness and reflection now. After several moments, we'll come back together through the gift of music.
This morning's reading is from Wendell Berry's Sabbath Poems. On arrival at the wood's edge on my Sunday morning walk, I stand resting a moment beside a ragged, half-dead wild plum in bloom, its perfume a moment enclosing me, and standing side by side with the old, broken, blooming tree, I almost understand, I almost recognize as friend the great impertinence of beauty that comes even to the dying, even to the falling, without reason sweetening the air. I walk on, distracted by the letter accusing me of distraction, which distracts me only from the 100 things that would otherwise distract me from this whiteness, lightness, sweetness in the air. The mind is broken by the 1,000 calling voices. It is always too late to answer, and that is why it yearns for some hard task, lifelong, longer than life, to concentrate it and make it whole. But where is the all-welcoming, all-consecrating Sabbath that would do the same? Where the quietness of the heart and the eye's clarity that would be a friend's reply to the white blossoming plum tree?
Thank you, Susan. Not long ago, on the phone with my wife, Ann was telling me about her concern for a mutual friend, someone who was a former co-worker of Ann's. In the work of helping families make decisions around organ donation, it is not a stress-free occupation, you might imagine. And as I understand it, for family service workers, at least in the States, the average tenure of someone doing family service work with families in the hospital is maybe about 6 to 8 years. And Ann's former colleague, a friend to us both, had been doing the work for over 20. The friend was becoming increasingly brittle and crusty. And I said, "Sounds like they need a sabbatical." And Ann said yes, and then scoffed. Because only clergy lucky enough to serve congregations for a fair number of years and tenured professors, and perhaps almost tenured professors, get sabbatical times. But I've never met anyone who couldn't use one. Have you? No, we could all use a little extra time to breathe. My first ministerial sabbatical, I had 4 months in the spring to early summer of 2003. And within the first couple of weeks, I had a dinner with a friend of mine from seminary who was just completing a 6-month sabbatical. And he told me it took him several weeks to slow down enough that he could notice quiet in a whole different way. And my response to Tom was as sudden as it was thoughtless. "You had 6 months. I only have 4. I need to get to a place where I can really be still as quickly as possible." It can be a terrible thing to listen to what you actually say. And it is the best way, if not the only way, to learn some things about oneself. And there, 5 weeks into my time away from the congregation, I was hiking in a wooded, hilly county park outside Seattle with another seminary friend and his wife when I heard it, or rather didn't hear anything. I stopped in my tracks because my mind had finally rested enough that I could hear the quiet surrounding me in a whole new way. The weeks of rest had begun to do their work. Now, I'm not talking about sabbaticals and getting into that more restful space because one for me is right around the corner. I have several years to go on that front. But after all the effort that I mostly observed, I did a little, but I did much less than many other volunteers. Certainly, Catherine, where the heck did she get to? Where'd she go? Raise a hand. I'm missing something. I'm blind. Maybe she went home to take a nap. That would be earned. It seemed like today would be a good time to talk about the importance of rest in all our lives, even the life of a community. And I know that there are still things wrapping up with the fall fair, and that will take at least a week or so. But if we can't rest now, at least we can look forward to it. The first congregation I served professionally, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Livermore, California, about 50 miles as the crow flies east and a tad south of San Francisco. During my tenure there, and it was 10 years, we expanded our campus from 2 buildings to 4. We built additional classrooms and multipurpose space. The youth group had been meeting in my office, and before I arrived, my office had been the church library, and people would make phone calls there, and the interim said, well, you know, it really would help if the minister had an office. So before I arrived, they made it an office. And I noticed, until the youth group met in my office, that pens would just disappear. That people used to using the space as a place to make phone calls continued to do so while I was preaching. And they would borrow a pen here and there. When the youth group started using the minister's office as their place to work, all of a sudden my pen stayed put. The youth were much better behaved than the adults. So it took us a while to realize the need and to raise the money, and then construction went on. And then, without talking about it, for an entire program year, the church rested. We didn't plan it. It just happened organically. We took the time, they took the time to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Now, when I was talking to our music director, Jen Bernstein, earlier this week about hymn choices for today, she said, well, let me look in the hymnal and I'll come back with ideas. And she emailed me this, and Jen, I'm going to quote you now, so you may want to go hide. This is only 2 lines. Observation. I'm quoting her. We don't have a lot of hymns about rest in our hymnal. We have a lot more about getting things done and working hard. Our hymnal betrays our culture. And we talked on the phone, Jen and I, after that, and I asked her if she remembered me telling my ice skating story, and she said no, which makes me think I preached this to you during the time that you were away on maternity leave. And I'm going to reframe the story a little bit now. And I'll be brief. When my friend and colleague Dana Reynolds was serving the First Unitarian congregation in Concord, Mass., ironically just up the road from where my wife is currently living, he said, you know, I love my congregation, but the thing I never want to see them do is ice skate. And I said, huh? Help me make sense of that. And he said, because all they know how to do is do. They would be on the ice frantically moving their feet back and forth in a frenzy of activity. I still didn't get it. And Dana said, listen, Eric, Ice skating is about the push and the glide. The push and the glide. My people, I don't trust them to know the glide part. I don't know, all they know how to do is to push. It would be awful, it would be painful to watch them try to ice skate. They don't know about the joy, the beauty, the grace that comes with the glide. Now, he was exaggerating things just a little bit. But we have pushed. Let us enjoy those naps that Catherine offered us. She gave us permission to nap every day this week, those who work for Fall Fair, and we weren't taking names and ticking off names. If you want to take a nap every week, even if you didn't help out, go right ahead. Now, I also know that many of us, we work more than we rest because that is our safe space. Some of you may feel that rest is a gateway drug to all sorts of nefariousness. So let me offer you this closing prayer by the Reverend Richard Gilbert to pickle your brains. This is a prayer. O God of work and leisure, teach me to shirk on occasion. Not only that I may work more effectively, but also that I may enjoy life more abundantly. Enable me to understand that the earth magically continues spinning on its axis even when I am not tending thy vineyards. Permit me to breathe more easily, knowing the destiny of the race rests not on my shoulders alone. Deliver me from false prophets who urge me to repent and shirk no more. I pray for thy grace on me, thy faithful shirker. There is a time for everything under heaven, toil and rest, giving something on all, our all, and then perhaps even shirking on occasion. May we be faithful resters when the good work is done. Thank you all. Thank you.
Our anthem today is Freedom is Coming. This is a South African protest song, an anti-apartheid freedom song. And the arrangement is by Anders Nyberg. We have Chalice Choir joining us today singing it. You also heard them earlier singing Only When It's Dark by Jake Alexander. I think that this song, in the context of this service, I hope you'll maybe take it as something that I think about is how things that bring us rest and joy and happiness can also sometimes be tools or things that we can use to shape the world into a better place. And what better example of that than protest music? So freedom is coming.
Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I
Will the ushers please start passing the baskets now? Have we- Okay. This congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are part of this community. We rely on one another to keep this congregation vital and resilient. If you have any questions about how you can give, please go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Also, anyone here in Worship Hall can use the QR code on the back of the printed order of service to make an online donation. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate the gifts to the work of our community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now, let us sing together once more. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing Come, O Sabbath Day. It's number 204 in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screen.
We're certainly giving our singers their steps this morning, aren't we? Before we close our time of worship and reflection, a reminder that coffee hour will begin in Fellowship Hall immediately after the service. And Leafy Green, are the Ajaski Towers up or are they still down from the fall fair? They're up? Well then, they're up. Leafy greens are available once again from the grow towers there for any who would enjoy them. There are also household and food items from our grocery support program in the same space. Once again, Mia's Indian Cuisine will be providing lunch for us. It is one of the highlights of my week to break bread with so many of you on Sunday afternoon. If you are new here, you find my prop, or simply feel new, look for the green mug. Grab one. This symbolizes that you're still feeling new here and will help others, hint, 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 find you and start a good conversation about what drew you here. And we always learn more about one another when we talk about why we got up early on a Sunday morning and came to church together. And Fall Fair post-sales will begin or continue immediately after the service, and all are welcome to stick around and help with the continuing cleanup from yesterday's Fall Fair. And now, as we prepare to extinguish our chalice, may these words also from my colleague, the Richard Gilbert, be our guide. As we leave this community of the Spirit, may we remember the difficult lesson that each day brings more than any of us can do. May we do what needs to be done, postpone what does not, and be at peace with what we can be and do. Therefore, may we learn to separate that which matters most from that which matters least of all. Our chalice is extinguished, but the spark of faith resides in each of our hearts. Jen, will you bless us again and lead us in singing our closing song, Spirit of Life, which is number 123 in our gray hymnal. The words will also be above. Please rise once more in body or in spirit. As now we return to both the challenge and the joy of helping the world come alive in love, let us go forward with love in our hearts, sowing seeds of justice with our hands, so that our steps come with peace. Go in peace, my friends. Go in peace.